Hello, I want you to imagine that you're driving down the interstate in Columbus and you see this person weave in and out in all these roads and just going back and forth. Well, I want you to apply that same concept to the nervous system. We are talking about dysregulation today and how it affects the nervous system. And when I measure this and I show on the scans that we see in the back here, I can see how that nervous system is actually functioning and responding to stress, or how it's locked into stress. So dysregulation actually is malfunction of that nervous system and how it responds to stress or a stressful stimuli as well. And so you get over the top responses or mild responses because it's not making a good response to the stimulus that is actually happening. So the nervous system gets out of sorts. It's what it gets scrambled in another sense of the word. And it'll show up with different symptoms if it progresses for a long period of time or if it's sudden and severe. And there's varying degrees of this as well. So I'm going to walk you through the steps today because I want to help you make sense of this, because so many people come in with a vast array of different symptoms. So I'm thinking of one person in particular who we're going to see their testimonial pretty soon. Headaches, digestive problems, anxiety, numbness in their hands, their posture was off, even hearing was an issue as well, and just couldn't put all the pieces of the puzzle together, was going to a number of different doctors, but was really just not getting any success because they didn't really look at the nervous system and how that was functioning. So I'm going to walk you through this today and see if maybe you have the check marks as well. So what it shows up physically, how dysregulation in the nervous system shows up physically, you'll see a chronic pain. It just doesn't go away. The body cannot heal properly, and so you're stuck with this chronic pain for a long period of time. Digestion, definitely there. Food's not moving through, it's not digesting well, and movement, not able to turn the head, not flexible, become rigid, actually become tight. Even the shoulders start to roll forward and the head starts to come forward, almost like we're getting in the fetal position again. So thinking wise or cognitive wise, brain starts to get fuzzy. We lose our focus. And for kids, this is an issue when it comes to learning, because an anxious mind cannot learn. So it's harder to pick up things. It's harder to learn things, especially in school. Now, emotionally, we see the roller coasters. And when I use to talk some code to parents, because I just don't want to sit there and think that the kids are being talked about all the time. We use a code. We call it trains or roller coasters. Have the emotions been a roller coaster with it up and down, or are they more like a train, nice and easy? So the emotions and the mood swings can be up and down. The meltdowns, especially in toddlers, can be like, hey, lights on, we're on a meltdown 100% for a half an hour, and just can't come off of that as well. And now behavior too, sleep. Now either they're just sleeping all the time, which is usually rare with kids, but as we get more with teenagers, that's what they do. They become exhausted because their nervous system gets so scrambled that it just wears out. And so they start to become socially withdrawn. Like, I don't have the energy to have a conversation or to have relationships, to have friends. I'm exhausted. But with a toddler, it's like disco party all night long. They just have a hard time settling down because their engine is revved up so much. So this is some of the signs and symptoms that start to show of dysregulation in that nervous system. And so what are the stressors? What are the categories of stressors that cause this? Well, first of all, the stressors can come early or they can come sudden and severe. So like birth trauma, sudden and severe. And if the child is not dealt with that, or that baby's not taken care of at a young age, that's going to carry on through 1 year, 2 years, 3, 4, 5, even into adult years of life, because it sets their nervous system up to be stuck in that stress. Other things like just sitting all day long for an adult, work stress, siblings, bullying, either through Facebook, which I'm on Facebook now, but I'm not bullying, but also just those types of things will add a stress. So like the social stress, chemical stresses. We see dyes in food. It's one of the first things when moms will say, hey, I took the dyes out of the food, because they know that those dyes will trigger some response. You ever hear people with Miralax? If your child's ever been on Miralax, likelihood that you've been seeing a meltdown because of it too. So I know parents will come into me and say, we don't touch that stuff. We give them to them once and that was it. I mean, it benefits, it gets the stools moving, but it definitely starts to have an effect on that nervous system too. So the additives in food definitely have an effect on the child's nervous system and how it affects them too. Geez, I've seen wheat have an effect on a child's nervous system before and just send them into pain and bloating and those types of things too, affecting the gut. So different series of these are that as well. We call the different stressors either a physical stress, a chemical stress, or an emotional stress. Now, the thing is, how do we measure this and how do we get unstressed from this? How do we get unstuck? Well, we measure that in here. As a pediatric chiropractor focused on nervous system function, I am going to measure that. I'm going to measure it through the exams we see here through thermography, actually taking the temperature. I'm sure you've had this experience before where you were sick, you're covered up underneath a pile of covers, but you're sweating. You're cold and shivering, but you're sweating. A good example of dysregulation. You can't really establish your temperature, and that's like a specific case of that as well. Like temperature regulation is difficult when there's body's dysregulation, but we do that on a micro level up the spine to see how those nerves are not functioning and not working correctly. So that's what we do as part of the assessment in here. And those often we see that those correlate really good when I do the assessment, correlate really strongly with the symptoms that are showing up in the patient. Not only that, but doing a physical exam will allow me to get the hands on and say, yeah, this is not working correctly. This nervous system is not, part of the nervous system isn't working correctly. Hey, the nerves that control your bowels, your legs, blood, those aren't working correctly because I'm feeling some things here and it's showing up here. It's just doing the detective work to figure out what the cause of the problem is rather than managing the systems through medication or alternative or other therapies like that. We want to figure out why the body isn't working the way it's programmed and designed to work. And as a chiropractor, that's exactly what I'm doing as far as assessing the system that controls everything in the body. Hey, I am Dr. Randy Orrs. I want to know what you think of this as well. I want to know if you do have questions, please put them in the comments. I'm happy to ask those too, and chances are some other people have that too. And not feeling like you have the courage to do that, just message me privately. Give me a call if you want to talk to me personally. I'd be happy to do that as well. Until then, I'm Dr. Randy Wirtz. Make sure you get outside and play today. Bye-bye.